Luis Sera, probably one of the lamest characters we encounter in Resident Evil 4. Not lame because of who he is, but I feel like he dies in the lamest way after being an absolute tank in the cabin fight. Our lad gets shanked from the shadows right as we get to the castle. What a way to go, man. Our time was short and sweet, but I'll always remember you, buddy. But thinking about Luis Sera and death don't really match up in my eyes. Reason being is that Luis is pretty much invulnerable during the cabin fight. Regardless of how many enemies swarm him, he comes out on top like a champ. He still has time to throw his goodies while doming the competition too. In some ways, Leon coveted his skill. How could one man be so powerful? While feeling like the inferior gamer that we were compared to Luis's one-shot prowess, we did what every other player did. We shot our teammate to see what would happen. At first, Luis warns us, basically proclaiming that we straight up shot him. But as we add more bullets to his torso, things change. Luis goes from being our compadre to a bounty hunter wanting Leon's head on a pike. As we hit Luis 3 or 4 times, a cutscene will trigger in which Luis bids us farewell and then opens fire onto Leon. This cutscene leads to a game over, as Leon basically turns into a blood fountain. But was this really the end? As we die our lame gaming death, we are reborn like a phoenix from the ashes, but this time with a new agenda. Is it possible to kill Luis Sera in Resident Evil 4? Let's find out. So, starting out, I knew that Luis was going to obliterate us regardless of what we did if we tried to approach him with Leon. Indoors, we were simply no match. All bullets would simply raise Luis's power level as he inched closer to his insta-kill. Explosions were a no-go as well, as Luis can see into the future and will roll out of the way the second it leaves your hand. There's a chance he will get hit by the explosion or the fire, but it's no use. It'll act as if you just shot him, and we all know how that's gonna go. So, I did what any good strategist would do. I got the high ground. I figured if the cabin is off limits, maybe I could snipe Luis from super far away. Being at ground level doesn't work because Luis ducks anytime Leon's sniper scope goes over him. However, since I was far out of bounds and above the map, I could rain down pain from above. I was thinking, through this method, perhaps I would be able to skip over the instant kill radius. But I was wrong. Very wrong. After a few spinal taps, Luis had enough. He teleported me into the cabin and then punched some holes in me. I was once again defeated, tossed to the side, like a pathetic ragdoll. Leon had failed me for the last time. It's obvious that Leon is simply outmatched. With his programmed auto-kill, Luis truly is a formidable foe. So it's time to call in some backup. Luckily, we have Rambo on speed dial, and he owes us a favor before Chapter 5. Honestly, strolling up to the cabin fight as Krauser made me feel like a champion. I was ready to crush some fools, Luis included. Now, for those who have played Mercenaries, you'll know that every so often, Krauser's arm will charge up and it will allow you to launch an insane dash attack outwards. This move instantly vaporizes anything it hits. You can even hit Super Salvador with it and he'll turn into red mist. So I was of course feeling pretty confident. In theory, I believe that the insta-kill move would only register as hitting Luis once, thus allowing me to delete him from the game before his insta-kill cutscene activated. So I readied my arm and let it rip. But Luis tanked the shot. Somehow, this guy only stumbled backwards while everything else in the room went to the next dimension. But how? So I hit him again, and again, and again. I hit him so many times that the game just stopped moving forward. He couldn't insta-kill me because I wasn't Leon, and I couldn't insta-kill him because he was a god. All the enemies were dead for good, and the game just stopped processing. So I had to lure Luis Sera to me with grenades because he couldn't resist the danger. For some reason, every time I threw one, he rolled towards me. So in order to escape this purgatory, I knew I had to get him near a door. This is because during the cabin fight, Luis Sera actually loads in on top of Ashley. And since you can't go through doors without Ashley nearby, you basically have to sucker Luis into coming with you. Krauser failed me. If his deadly arm wouldn't work, what hope did I have? So I quickly began thinking of situations in which I could potentially kill Luis. He was invulnerable to enemy damage, so I knew that would pretty much be a bust. So I decided to take him on a trip to my favorite places. First up, the giant lava pit of doom. If I couldn't break Luis, perhaps I could melt him. So I lured him to the middle of the room with some tasty grenade treats and then pulled the switch. Expecting him to burn to a crisp, a giant frown crept across my face as I saw him standing next to the trapdoor. When the switch is thrown, it moves any characters who aren't El Gigantes off of it. So Luis had dodged death once again. Defeated, Krauser went back to being a pawn, and good old Hunk stepped in. My travels wouldn't take me too far, as next up, we were heading for the minecart ride. I know for a fact that if Ashley is hit by a minecart, she's KO'd, so perhaps I could get Luis to meet the same fate. Upon loading the room though, Eagle Eye Luis started sniping every single ganado on the level. I couldn't even get him to move forward until all the targets were neutralized. When he was done with his frenzy, I placed him in front of the minecart and started his last ride. As the minecart began to move, I was thinking, this is it. He's done for. But, to no one's surprise, Luis held his ground despite taking massive damage repeatedly. The minecart does constant damage to those in front of it, but it wasn't enough damage to make Luis lose his footing. He simply kept getting hurt and pushed alongside the track. There was nothing I could do to this madman. He boarded my crazy train, and all Hunk could do was lob grenades at him to keep him at bay. Perhaps if he was distracted enough, he would die in the minecart crash. But something went terribly wrong. Hunk fell to his death, but Luis lived on, nowhere to be seen when the minecart plummeted into the great beyond. Press F in the chat, fam. Hunk was a good man. With Hunk out of commission, things were looking pretty grim. Could Luis actually be defeated? I had tons of other scenarios I still had to try out, but there was one that seemed more promising than the rest, and that was the truck scene. So let me fill you in on something. I'll eventually cover the scene in its entirety because there's a lot of weird things that can happen, but what's important to know is that the truck instantly kills anyone who touches it. Every single frame the game is running. So I honestly don't know how Luis's health actually works in the game. Does he constantly recover? Does he technically have infinite health that when damaged restores back instantly? I know it's 3 strikes and you're out when you're in the cabin, but I was hoping the truck would be my saving grace. So Ashley stepped up to the plate to finally put a stop to this monster. I was thinking that, in theory, if Luis did restore health, and it kept him alive, that if his health was constantly held at 0 every single frame, it would be long enough to trigger his character actually dying. The first time this happened, upon touching the truck, my character responded as if Luis died. But I couldn't tell what had actually happened. So I stopped the game over screen from appearing so I could see what had occurred, and to my surprise, I had done it. Luis was finally vanquished. He was taking so much damage from the truck that it held him in place as his body contorted. Now, the broken shell of a man, he collapsed to the ground after my intense infinite damage attack and laid there motionless. I couldn't even kick him back to life, which was one of my worries. I was thinking that damaging him again would reset his counter, but he stayed permanently dead. The truck had blown out his stack, altered carbon style, and he lay beneath me powerless. If he somehow did survive the truck, I still had a few other options to try, like smashing his face with a giant boulder, or getting him speared by that weird Spike Zamboni in the castle. I would have crushed his will eventually and secured my win. It was only a matter of time. So yes, it is possible to kill Luis Sera in Resident Evil 4. It's impossible within the safety of the cabin, but taking him elsewhere is enough to shatter his protection. And with that, if you like this bizarre video, let me know in the comments below. Perhaps check out one of the other videos on screen too. As always, thanks for watching, guys and gals, and we'll see all of you again really soon on HorrorScoped. Cheers.